Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Holy Shiftball podcast, where we challenge everything that you've been taught about your mind, your energy, and your reality. I'm Bethany, your energetic bestie, alongside my fabulous co host, Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Hey, Bethany, how are you today?
Girl, I am doing well, doing well. There's a lot going on, huh?
Holy heck, is there ever? Is there ever? There's a lot happening in the consciousness and on a collective and an individual level. Wow.
Yes, for sure, girl. And you know what's been interesting is this week that we interviewed so many people for our new series coming up in April called Consciousness for Dummies. Sharon, tell us a little bit about your experience of us this week interviewing all of these amazing people.
It was truly remarkable. Like it's been like oh yeah, this weekend last week we interviewed quite a few people, and so we thought that we would have a hard time
Yeah.
because we have a very specific idea for what we want for the Consciousness for Dummies platform and how we want that series to look. And, how we start out explaining it like everybody's five, and that's for our benefit as much as anybody else's. And,
Yeah.
having a really progressive conversation about consciousness. And we didn't have the problem we thought we would. We have the opposite problem, which is great. They're all great. They were all amazing and wonderful, and we're so lucky that they all stepped up to be part of this.
Yes.
And so it's going to be hard to slot things in, but it's going to be just a fantastic journey. We're going to learn, we're going to grow. We have
Yes.
experiencers, we have people who, yeah. And
Yes.
what about you, Bethany? What's your take on it? How do you feel about it?
It was interesting because, a lot of people just, on the topic of consciousness and how to dumb it down for us dummies to be able to soak it in. And the people that in which we attracted just, was mind blowing. So I am so grateful to get it all kicked off and get it rolling and bring it to everybody. So looking forward to it. So be on the lookout for that season coming up. Woohoo!
Starting April 1st, Consciousness for Dummies. For dummies like
Yes. Yes. Well, Sharon, I am so
that.
excited about our guest today. Who do we have on the show today?
My gosh, baby, we have MaAra Divine. So, Deanna is what happens when quantum physics, spiritual shamanic wisdom, and 20 years of deep dive collide into one powerhouse human. She's an author, an energy healer, a multidimensional channel, and the host of the Soul Communication podcast, where, as she puts it, the mystic meets reality. So, Diana has spent 2 decades asking big questions like, who are we really? Why are we here? And how do we stop living small in an infinite universe? Such deep, amazing questions. So, without further ado, let's invite Deanna on to find out the answers to those questions.
Hey, Deanna.
Welcome, Deanna.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here.
We're
And
truly excited to have you.
Bethany and I go way back. We were roommates on a galactic cruise going all the way to Mexico through the Bermuda Triangle. Do you remember that, Bethany? That
Oh,
was a bumpy ride.
yeah. I mean, one day it was just like, woo. But I mean, Deanna, the people in which we met on that cruise, with the portal to ascension, the beings that we got to meet, the energy that we got to be around, and Deanna and I were roommates, and so it was absolutely an amazing. We got to go, view a bunch of pyramids, and it was just a one of those spaces and travel that will always be in my memories. We had a really
Yeah.
great
And
time.
I think that's what's happening right now as I'm thinking about that cruise and kind of how I reconnected with you recently. We are reconnecting to our soul family, to our tribe, and more we're putting out these signals and everyone is resonating. Like a lot of people are just finding my book, for instance, in most bizarre circumstances. And I have them come my way and tell me the stories, how therapists gave them a book all the way in California.
Mhm.
And my book is relatively new. I mean, just came out last year in June. So, but it is that signal, that resonance where people are ready for the information and they just like seeking their tribes. They seeing what maybe is out of alignment, and what is really like, yes, I want to connect, I want to understand, I want to understand what quantum is. And so I love that, because I feel with you too, like we were just kind of playing and trying to figure it out, all this work that we've been doing personally, but now it's becoming collective journey as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And on that line, Deanna, you said people are now spiritually ready. What was that moment in your life, that holy shift balls moment that kicked you in the solar plexus, flipped your life upside down, and led you to the path that you're on? What got you ready for this path?
Oh gosh, many, many things. But I think one of this really transformational moment was for me when I was 14 years old and I was living in Israel. So here it is again, Middle East, a hot spot. It has been a hot spot always off and on, but now we have this war, I guess we can say, that started just a week ago. And here it is, Middle East is in our consciousness. For me, that was 1994. I was a teenager, staying at the bus stop with a friend of mine. We were just kind of heading out, and I lived in this beautiful valley next to Nazareth. So, I didn't put as much attention to the fact that I had these beautiful, Jesus grew up there, all these beautiful ancient sites. But it was just, I was enjoying my freedom, loving being in, the teenager I was. It was just really beautiful environment. But there was always, these things. Borders are very close. You don't think about them that much, but everything is like 20 minutes out. And so the experience was where I was standing on this bus stop and this voice, and I wasn't spiritual. I didn't even know. Like, yes, I was always perceptive, but this voice started getting louder, and the voice started telling me to leave the area. And it got to this place where it was so loud that I couldn't just resist it anymore. And so I grabbed my friend and we crossed the street, and then we turned the corner, and then we hear boom. And just to like put it in perspective, so Gulf War was in 1991, and I was in 6th grade. We had a gas mask. So what's happening in Israel right now with people having sirens go off, they have to run to bomb shelters, missiles fly. I experienced all that back in the 90s. And so then there was a quiet period. So, and I think Hamas and Hezbollah, which are the, more or less what they consider terrorist groups, right? They kind of got together in different jail cells, and they started learning how to do these things called bus bombings. So what essentially happened, that bus stop, a car came in and with a lot of ammunition, I don't know, the whole thing blew up. And it was just incredible, because for me, I was so confused. But as a kid, I started asking these big questions. What was this voice? How did it know it's about to happen? How did it save me? Why was I supposed to leave the area? What was the like bigger, things that are happening that my eyes cannot see? Like, what? So I started going into this quest of understanding of self, and that led me to many places. I came to US later in college. Started Zen and Buddhism. I was meditating and doing all kinds of things. Came back to Israel, got Reiki certified, started understanding, feeling the energy. And then shamanically, I guess shamanic path was my introduction to a lot of this work. So energy work, but then shamanic practices as well. A lot of plant medicine work that I've done. And so not just journeying around the world, which I love too, and I've been to over 50 countries and understanding these different perspectives, but also journeying to other realms. So with a plant medicine, different plant medicines, I became a bit of a psychonaut. I wanted to explore. My curiosity was just unstoppable. And that's what it is. If it's that fearlessness of, that I think I developed over the years. And I think that experience of being so close to death, and then there were other circumstances. That one was definitely a prolific one, is when you start realizing, okay, well, I'm just a being experiencing reality. And then there's so much more beyond it. And death is just an illusion of the mind, right? It's like everything is on the other side of fear. And as we release that, constrain that limitation of the mind, that this is it, and control it and hold to it, the unknown is, and the potential of the unknown is really incredible. And that's really the quantum field. And we can go into it. It's just this limitless potential of so many things in so many realms and so many beings that try to connect to us. And we're just so stuck sometimes in what we can perceive. But if we open our perceptual lenses and start really tuning in, it's fascinating.
Yes, girl. Yes. People hear all the time, energy, frequency, vibration.
Mhm.
From your perspective, how do those influence someone's life and their experiences? What would you say?
I mean, it's all about conscious creation. What does that mean? So every day, you wake up, and if you have a 9 to 5 job, you have certain circumstances. And so you can wake up and not feel great that day. And you can stay in that state of not feeling great and go to your job kind of grumpy. And your whole day turns into this reality where it's just low vibration, meaning, you create the circumstances that outside of you, but really it starts from within. But you can, at the same token, have the same day, wake up in the morning, and then decide to shift that reality and say, almost like hack it, right? We hackers of creation as well. And we're like, okay, let me dance, let me move my body, let me get that coffee, let me put my affirmations in. I'm going to have a great day today. And there's amazing things going to happen to me. And I'm going to meet this person is going to bring to me what I need. You can put these things into the air and just observe and watch. All of a sudden, your day turns into magic. All of a sudden, you start flowing in a completely different direction and wave. Maybe instead of taking the same route you've taken to work every day, you'll decide to take the scenic route. And in the scenic route, you notice things that you've never noticed before.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like universe and reality reacts to your state of being. And so if your state is low, it kind of just, you put in a lot of resistance into the field of energy, and resistance is mirrored back to you. But if you release resistance and you go more into capacity, meaning more flow, more overflow, and abundance is available. Because what is energy? Energy is our concentrated intention, is a concentrated energy in attention, but energy is like emotion in flow, right? So as we kind of flow through the river of emotions through the day and catch ourselves, I feel this is where like when we say vibration, frequency, that's really what it is.
Mhm.
It's how we really feel. and we can shift. Like if we think this is how the status quo, like we really can shift in a second.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel, the difference between someone who's been on the journey for a while. They just have better tools maybe on how to shift that, versus someone who's just like, no, I'm stuck. This is all I have. And they have to just learn how to do so.
That's one thing that Sharon and I, talk about quite often, is that where do we focus? Are we focusing and looking at a loss? Are we expecting the loss, or are we looking for the win? And if you're
I
always,
like that.
yeah, the
Losing, losing, winning.
That's great.
when
I
you're
love
in
that.
that frequency of, I am the win, I winning, I'm winning, and you truly feel that, you're gonna be looking all the time for the win, because
Yeah.
you are that. And you believe that you are winning, instead of looking and focusing and saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh my God, I'm defeated. I'm losing." And really step into that energy of, I am winning. So
I love
So
that.
from what I hear you saying, Diana or Deanna, the focus, intentionality, and curiosity, being open to possibility. Now, if everyone understood consciousness, what do you think would change on the planet first? What would be the first change if we all explored and understood consciousness?
Wow. Can you imagine?
Oh, wow.
This
Could be
world would be
amazing.
very different. I think, first of all, then everyone will be much more empowered. So shifting from being victim to this more empowered state of conscious creation. And this is what I write in a book about. It's like, this is a game, right? So just like children play these different games on the Roblox, I watch my kid. It's like every time you come into each incarnation, you choose a certain body, certain avatar, certain family, certain lessons that you want to learn, skins, all of these things, right? And so as you jump in, we forget there is this multidimensional amnesia, which is happening in this earthly realm. This does not necessarily happen in other advanced civilization. They actually remember their past lives, their other aspects, but here we disconnected. So as we come into this game of consciousness, right? It's like, it's a hard mode on Earth. It is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a higher
This
level
is
for
not
sure.
just some any game. In this game, you really sometimes so tied into this conditionality that you forget the essence of who you are. And the essence is this pure, innocent child that just wants to play and create. But these layers that are put upon us, and so someone who becomes conscious is literally unpeeling the onion. So that's usually how I kind of give the metaphor. Think of all these layers that we just collected over time, these belief systems, and sometimes are not even ours. And as we start unpeeling, and sometimes we release in these traumas, belief systems, these programs that we collected or have been given to us through our ancestors, and we start coming to the essence. The essence is light. The essence is so pure and innocent, and this essence is very much about love. Ultimately, what is this game of creation in this universal time matrix? It's to understand unconditional love. And how can we express love in the most beautiful way? How can we sing love song to ourselves and the universe? Imagine that, everyone singing love song. How does that look like? Everyone wants to co-create together, community building, tribes. We sharing resources, with loving each other, right? We're not in competition. So when we're in this third dimensional layer, it's all transactional. You notice that, like, what do you give me versus what I give you? And this is the type of bumps that we have against these relationships where everything gets measured, and it's
With them, what's in it for me?
exactly, versus this higher dimensional conscious reality is all heart driven. It's all through the heart. So it's relational. We don't care about what you give me. It's like we are just creating together this reality together. So we are interconnected. We're not separate. And that's what it is. Those who are still sleeping, quote unquote, they're just so separated and so silent in the lives they have and the comfort zones that they have. It's my sandbox, and these are the tools that I have, and this is how I know how to play. And don't
touch
bother
my
my
toys.
sandbox, because this is what I know, and I'm going to hold on to it with full control. I'm not going to let it go.
Yes.
so stuck in their paradigm. But guess
Yeah.
what? All the incredible things are in other sandboxes, right? Like, let me share, let me give you resources. Let's create an environment that is nourishing for all of us. And this is where I believe we collectively starting slowly to shift to. Those who are waking up, those are they're realizing it's not transactional, it's relational, and it's love-based, and that's the future I see for ourselves, where we in these communities building. We're already doing that wherever we are. We're creating those portals of light, so to speak, for others to reconnect to themselves, to remember who they really are. And that's what I talk about. Like in my book, I talk about these three things that are important: is remembering, then expansion, and then mastery. So what is remembering? Remembering is to reclaim those parts of ourselves. It's like remember, become member again, of the the energy of your own inner state of your body too. So because there's a whole ecosystem that lives within our body as well. And when people talk about disease, what is disease? It's lack of ease. It's when parts of you are also separating and not remembering they're actually part of this body that makes this hardware that's operational. So if we bring it back to ease, to relaxation, to remembrance, then everything comes back into alignment. So I always say like, there's nothing wrong with us. there's this concept of healing, and I see a lot of people going around and trying to get healed and healed. But if you start with the premise, we all beautiful, multidimensional, angelic beings of light. And we having many experiences through spaces and time, and Earth is just one of them. And it's temporary, but it's beautiful. You make it as beautiful as you can make it. But because it's temporary, you just reclaiming those aspects of yourself in this moment. You remember and then you all of that. And when you step into that, that's self-love. That's unconditional love, because you accept in all the pieces of yourself, the good, the bad, the in between. All of that is just experience. And then you come into alignment because you realize there's nothing to fix. You're already perfect, right? There's nothing to heal. All you do, you're just out of alignment. The 5G towers, the food, everything we eat in, these conditions, the families, all of that brought us out of remembrance that we are these beings. And now it's our time to reclaim that.
Sharon and I often talk about, what are we doing when, sitting in, spaces and places that, project, that put out, fear, war, anger, agitation,
Mhm.
aggravation, frustration. What is that frequency? What is that doing to the body when you're sitting there just watching and you're being projected on and you're unaware, you're unconscious of, because we weren't told.
Just going to the store.
I mean, we weren't taught and told
Experience all
anything
that.
about this. So I just
Yeah.
find it all fascinating, about becoming aware, becoming consciousness, and, what does that actually even mean,
Yeah. How do I become conscious of my consciousness?
Oh my gosh, and catching yourself and also having these energetic boundaries, right, in your space. So even if you are moving through a store, or, let's say you're not watching TV, but the information is still bombarding you, you can still create, use sacred geometry, use different techniques of putting some boundaries into your space where that information is not as much influence in you. And as long as you stay in a neutral state, for me, as I mentioned, I'm from Middle East. I'm also from, Soviet Russia and Ukraine, and all these areas in the world that are really on fire. But I really chose to be in neutral state and not react at all to what is happening in the world. And actually, by sitting in this neutrality, I believe I am helping the conflict more than being pulled into all of these news pieces and believe in the different stories. And that's a hard place to be. Most people, again, really polarized, and that's what these energies also want. Remember, politics is still operating in that third dimensional frequency. It's still in this push and pull tug of war where the energy gets, siphoned here and there.
Yeah.
When we talk quantum means is that high dimensional energy, 0-point field. There's infinite abundance of energy in the relational type of environment that we just talked about.
Mhm.
Then there's no push and pull, right? It's all about peace. And so we as a civilization right now, we're civilization 0, meaning we're still figuring this out. We're still at war within ourselves too.
Yeah.
And only when you come into this inner peace within, and find that peace with, not judging yourself, not being so critical of yourself, and just being okay with everything that is, we also reflect it from within the without, right? That's
Right.
the reflection as well. And many star seeds, light workers, all of us kind of work, doing our own inner work and integrating our own shadows so we can come to that place of peace. And then we'll see that reflected. We will be civilization 1 when we come to that more peaceful place, because other galactic beings, they can't even interact with us that much, although there's a lot of talk about disclosure, that because we're still hostile in many ways for them, and they're actually afraid of our hostility.
So would you say that not allowing the external war to create an internal war inside of you is a huge step to becoming conscious
Of
and
course, yeah.
getting to know thyself?
Absolutely, yeah. And filtering information at this age of AI and so much information overload, We have to be really discerning about the information we absorb in. So that digestion and absorption of information is part of consciousness, right? Because consciousness, what is consciousness? Consciousness is like the supercomputer, like super AI, right? Super intelligence, but that is constantly learning as well. So we constantly uploading and downloading information to it as well. So we synthesizing. So what we absorb is, and how we absorb it is important. So we should be careful, how to filter, not sitting there and scrolling every, fear mongering reel every 5 seconds, right? Exactly. Like, is that conscious or more kind of coming in, checking what you want to disconnect in, going out in nature, connecting to the real, true, natural AI.
Yeah, that's what I was
MI.
just fixing. I was just fixing to ask you, what would be one way for, our audience members to be able to discharge that stuck energy within their body?
Yeah, the best way is to be in nature. So, building practices, because practice promotes presence. And so,
Ooh,
in order for
ooh, I
you
like that.
to, build that muscle, we have to build these spiritual muscles, I call them. Like, you go to the gym and you you start with 5 pounds to make it to 20. I mean, it doesn't happen. So you have to build it over time. And so by making these conscious choices of what information do I intake, how do I digest it? It's kind of same thing as eating food, am I eating organic versus not organic, making these choices. And then how am I staying present? What
Yep.
are these things that I do on a daily basis? How do I wake up and what I do after? Do I go for a walk? Even if it's 5 minutes, maybe doing, deep breath work or closing your eyes and connecting to this more meditative space, going for a walk, hug a tree, whatever. It starts getting warmer now, spring, right? Eventually we'll be able to walk on the grass, grounding yourself. I also love the sun. So working with the solar rays, especially at that magical 7, 8 o'clock in the morning time where it's still healthy infrared light. There's a lot of codes that come in from the sun right now. And the sun is in solar maxima. So it's just, we're already getting bombarded, but even more so, every time you feel out of alignment, just notice you go out in the morning and you just close your eyes or open your eyes if you're already an eye gazer, and then just absorb that. Instead of absorbing the toxic news, absorb that light. And we are light beings. So we already producing light. Like they already done all this quantum biology, scientific research, where they can see our DNA is biophotonic, it's producing light. Mitochondria, which is the organelle in the cell that's producing ATP, which is the energy in the body. All of that is plasmatic in nature, meaning like just like the universe has all this plasma, we are also creating light. Yeah. So the more capacity we can grow in our field to hold more light, and so it's energy times capacity divided by resistance. So as you start releasing resistance, you can now hold more energy. You can create more space for the light and be that light, however that shows up, and learn how to anchor this energy also here. So a lot of the practices, the teachings I do is all about anchoring. You don't want to be out in the stars, even if you have connections. I mean, I visit all kinds of beings and interact with them on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, it's all about embodiment. So I'm really big about sovereignty and embodied sovereignty. What does that mean? It's like making those really empowered choices on a daily basis, but in the body. Like this is the vessel for us as light, we are essence, to experience here this reality. Otherwise, why are we here? Right? Question isn't why are we here? We could have been anywhere else in the galaxy or in this universe. Yeah.
One thing Bethany brought to my awareness was that human, a hue is a fractal of light. We are all light beings. We're fractals of light. And it says that right in the label that we choose to put on ourselves. Human. We're human.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yes, it is. Well, you know what? It is time for the segment, our favorite segment of the show called Shit or shift? All right, Deanna, we are gonna toss out some scenarios. You tell us if it's a shift. Yes, it's fully aligned. I'm having it. Woohoo! Or if it's total shit, it is a program. Cut it out. Let it go. I'm done. All right. Are we ready?
Let's go.
All right. Manifestation works without awareness or nervous system regulation. Shit or shift?
Oh, nervous systems, you have to have nervous system regulation, then will be a shift. Yes. Embodiment, right? We just talked about that.
Absolutely.
If your nervous system is on fire and you getting bombarded by that, it's not going to shift you anywhere.
Right. Definitely.
Okay, Deanna, your emotional state shapes your reality more than your conscious thoughts. Shit or shift?
Wow. Emotional state is more important, I would say. And that's really what helps you really shift. Yeah.
All right. Awareness is more powerful than positive thinking. Shit or shift?
Awareness will shift. Yeah, definitely awareness.
You can think positive all day.
All day long, nothing shifts.
If you're not aware, and because, belief, what you believe, you will see. So, yes, I love that. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
When people start experiencing synchronicities everywhere, or are they signs from the universe, or are they just recognizing things that have been there all along?
Recognizing things that have been there all along. Yeah. They are signs from the universe, but ultimately it's always been there. And now your awareness, your capacity of awareness is larger. And then you're like, oh yeah, these subtle anomalies. That's what, like in the movie Matrix, remember he saw the lady in the red dress. All of a sudden he's like, oh, see that? The anomaly. Yeah.
Yes. All right. My last question. All right, Deanna. Humans are far more powerful than they were ever taught. Sure.
Humans are incredible. And I feel this human is growing and morphing and mutating into another human. I do believe there is a new evolution of human. Our DNA that's been dormant for eons is now reactivating. So we are shifting from being carbon-based more into crystalline-based. As we are light beings, we can hold more light. So if our biology is shifting too. But we just starting to scratch the surface of now capacities and gifts that we have. And even for myself, like sometimes I have these sessions with people and then new things happen. I'm like, whoa, I never even thought I could do that. I never knew I could collapse timelines and do this and that. Here I'm learning, there's no manual for it, right? No one, in the ancient times, there were mystery schools. We were really learning this, and there was like rituals and things we did. I mean, yes, we remembered some of these rituals, but at the level that we start playing with fields and this and that, it's so new in many ways, but it's, again, we remember. And like, obviously the higher self knows how to do this. It's just Deanna self is still like figuring it out. Yeah.
Right. That's like what I tell my clients, you are walking around with the greatest piece of technology this world has ever seen. And you have been taught and told and made to believe that it is merely only an organ pumping blood through your body. When you connect to because you have more electrical power running through your heart than a bolt of lightning. You have over 40,000 neurons running through that joker. And we are connecting to the mind thinking it's the powerhouse. The heart sends more information to the brain than the brain does to the heart. So when you really sit, so connecting to your powerhouse is absolutely a shift in your reality. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yes. Dropping into that heart center changes everything. So last question for me as well. If you can't see it, touch it, or feel it, it isn't real. Shit or shift?
Shit. Most of the things the touch is like we are in a simulation in a way. our touch is based on the nervous system, right? On synapses and how the sensorium can receive information, but the sensorium is often off, right? And so our perception lens is so tiny. And so this, as we reconnect to our true abilities and we start growing, everything becomes more unreal. You
Yes.
start seeing colors, you start smelling smells that you never smelled before, all these things that are like, whoa, they were always here, I just never knew they were. Like,
For sure.
Yeah, everything becomes so much more real and so much more of an experience when you open yourself up and open up your consciousness to possibilities and just get out of your own way. People would say,
exactly.
you just need to get out of your own way. And I was like, what does that even mean? How do you get out of your own way? Well, just open yourself up, live in the question, as we like to say, live in the question and just allow.
Yep.
Be aware of what's happening and just allow.
Yeah, and keep on asking the question. I think you're right. And that's really what consciousness is about, is continuously asking the question.
Staying in the question.
Who am I? What is this? Why? Like, just digging and drilling into different rabbit holes, but also simultaneously recognizing there's many half truths, right? There's not one truth. And if anyone tells you this is the absolute truth, that is already wrong. Because there's so many perspectives, and each one of us is experiencing reality in their certain way, right? It's all these reality bubbles we are building through our perspectives and our beliefs, and we shift in the reality bubble based on how we shift the perspective. So with that, from that perspective, it's like no one really knows what this whole realm, or of planet Earth, of Tara, of Gaia is, and what is happening. But we have, collectively, we see in just threads, all of us are picking up the same energy, and that's when we're like, oh, these pieces of the puzzles, this is what it is. And we're sharing, right? I'm sharing through my book, through my podcast, you sharing through Holy Shiftballs, we all sharing. But each of the listeners, as you watch this, have your own discernment. Have your own resonance. Is this in alignment with me? Does this feel good in my body? Where does it feel in my body? If it feels like, punch to the gut, guess what? Maybe this information is not fully in resonance, because you got to listen to how your body receiving it. But if you feel expansion and you feel activated, illuminated, then yes, your soul is very much rejoicing and very much in the yes.
On the flip side of that, we always ask to, even when it's a difficult situation or you get that punch in the solar plexus, what is right about this situation? Because that's part of the expansion of awareness and living in the question is, okay, what is right about this that I am not seeing right now? And sometimes the answer doesn't come immediately. It could be 6 months down the road and you're like, oh my God, that's why that happened. Now I get it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, Deanna, before we close out, I would like to ask, what is one thing today that our listeners today could shift their own shit?
I love that. That's a great question. One day you can do today. Let's see. That's a great question. Yeah, the first, I would say the react and response is so important. So as you drive in and someone is driving behind you and honking, and you want to react back, take that moment, a deep breath in, and create that little pause in between, and bring yourself back into neutrality. And then from that place, that's not a reaction, that's a response now. It's much more neutral. It's not emotionally charged, emotionally driven. And just see throughout your day, if people are triggering you, things are happening. When you take that little pause for yourself, you will be shifting from the shit to more shift, because now you are taking the perspective, right? You are taking charge of your emotional state.
Because you don't know, and I've always told, my ex-husband was very reactionary. And I'd say, you don't know if that person just got a call from the hospital and they're on their way to see a dying loved one. You don't know if their child just got run over. You don't know if, a major event has happened in their life and they need to go. It's not, when they're honking at you, it's not about you. It's about them, and send them love and hope that they have a better day. hope that their day gets better,
I
that they
love
don't
that.
feel the need to
Yeah, Sharon,
try and
exactly.
understand what's happening in their world, as opposed to, how dare you affect mine? No, 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 no. Drop your ego and live in the question and send some love. Hopefully
And
we'll
in
have a better day.
compassion, I think the energy you're talking about is compassion. And so having that compassion for humanity, knowing that humanity, been going for eons through this dark ages of suffering. And here we are just starting coming out of it and reclaiming that, the vibration of love, understanding how it is to be. And that's a lot of compassion to hold. And I think we get on that compassion from other beings that overlight and overlooking us. And we have to hold that compassion for others, is like, forgive them, Father, as they do not know. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, Deanna, this has been a wonderfully illuminating conversation. It's just beautiful. I love your energy. I love your message. I love everything about you. And thank you so much for joining us today. We're really blessed and grateful to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do and how you bring joy to others and everyone who's tuning in and listening to this.
Where can our audience connect with you and work with you if they desire?
Yeah, my website, I think it's like right there. My last name is misspelled, it's Devine, but it's DianaDivine.com. So it's like DianaDivine.com. Very easy. On Instagram, I'm Diana M. Divine, because I go also by MaAra Divine. So yeah, find me, Diana M. Divine, on Instagram, on YouTube. You can find my podcast there, and yeah, connect. I'll constantly do master classes in many ways. So
Awesome.
love to see you there.
Look forward to it.
Well, Deanna, as you
Thank
know,
you.
I just think you're amazing, and I would like to tell you and share the energy from my heart to yours. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, and much, much love to everyone.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow. She's an amazing, amazing, amazing human. Powerful being of light, that one. Powerful.
She really is. I got to spend a week with her, and it was a really, a lot of fun. So that was an amazing conversation. Yes, she holds a very special place in my heart. So Sharon, woo, who do we have on the show next week?
Oh, next week we have an incredible, complete shift. Still talking about consciousness, but just in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
If you are ready to explore the reality of living in a body with multiple identities, then join us next week where we host Ian Foster, who has 22 identities living inside. And he explains dissociative identity disorder is like having one big internal family. Sometimes happen, they get along, but they have their quarrels like anybody else. But it's amazing, and the identities talk to each other, and it is an incredible experience sitting down with Ian. When we interviewed him, it was really, our interview went on for a long, long time because we were very absorbed and amazed by this.
It's just like we said earlier, it's like sitting down talking to 21 different people in one body. So, you're always, you have a plethora of questions that flood your mind. You're like, whoop, whoop. So it would be absolutely amazing to share what his perspective of life and everything that he's endured and changed and shifted and has been brought to his world. So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
One of the most amazing things, and I'll leave this with our viewers, our listeners, is that there are men and women, so it's both sexes, and there's one identity that's from like one's from the 1900s and one's from, I think,
we'll bring it all up
before Christ. Like, so there's a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of interaction going on in there. So,
very much so.
Yeah, and Ian is a lawyer, so there's the wisdom on many levels. It's incredible.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Well, be sure to like, follow, and share, and drop a comment if this episode has shifted your shit. And Sharon, remember, sister girl, when life kicks you in the balls, be sure to tune in to your Holy Shiftball podcast,
where we consciously help you turn that shit into a shift.
All right, we'll see you next Thursday.
See you next week. Bye-bye.